Baby, you're a stitch man. Baby, you're a stitch man. Baby, you're a stitch man. Duh. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Good morning, Flosstube. How's everybody been? How's everybody doing? Great. Stop talking. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for anything. No nonsense, no bullshit. I've got too much actual, real life, cross-stitching stuff to talk to today. Straight to it. No joke, no nonsense, no bullshit. This one's for all the people who think that I go on and on and on with too much nonsense before I get to the actual cross-stitching stuff. Fuck you, by the way. But also, this one's for you. Let's do it! I have completely, out of the blue, especially over the last week, I just got whip fever all of a sudden. You might remember around Christmas time, I was starting to get really overwhelmed by all my whips. I felt like I was getting buried in whips, and I was getting really stressed out about it. I started to actually finish a lot of those things, and I wasn't replacing them with new starts, which I was happy about at first because I didn't feel so overwhelmed anymore. I put a couple things on the back burner that I was okay with, and it gave me time to focus and try to get caught up on Chessie, which is what I wanted to do, and I was happy with that for a while. And then all of a sudden, within the last week, I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm getting tired of all this purple and blue. I'm getting tired of not having all my options and being drowned in whips anymore. Drown me. I want to be drowned in whips again. So I started the drowning process, and I got out some old whips, and I started a new thing, and I made plans for new things, and like here I am talking about not going on, and I'm going on and on. So like let's just take a breath. We'll start at the beginning with some purple and blue. Get this out of the way. Chessie. We'll take a look at where Chessie was last time, and then we'll get into all the rest of it.
This is what Chessie looked like last time you saw it. Darcy probably regrets asking me to do this.
And here's what Chessie looks like today. Look at that! Purple and blue! Who would have thought? This is a new little thing, though. I don't think this was here last time. That's going to be a tree branch. That's something different, right? So it's not that I don't enjoy and I'm not loving and don't want to get caught up with Chessie, because I do all of those things, like all of those things, and want to do all of those things. But I don't know. I just all of a sudden I was just like, it's enough already. It's enough purple and it's enough blue, and I want something different. So I did this much. I don't know how much this is that I did. I didn't look. It feels like I did quite a bit though. Like it must be 1,500 stitches at least. And then I don't know. I know I've said a bunch of times that I'm trying to have like this goal of giving this to Dylan for Christmas when he turns 5 at the end of next year. But like, if I don't do that, does that really make a difference? Like in the meantime, if I'm gonna work myself stupid on this thing to the point where I don't really enjoy it anymore, and that's what I'm gonna remember looking back on it, and like, is there really that much difference between 5 or 6 or 7? I mean, I'm not trying to purposely put it off, but like, is he gonna look back on it and go like, I would have really liked that if you gave it to me when I was 5, but you didn't. You gave it to me when I was 6, so go fuck yourself. Like who cares? So in the meantime, if I feel like I am getting tired of this and I want to work on something else, then I'm going to work on that other thing, and I'm going to have happy memories about those things, and I'm going to have happy memories about this thing, and I might finish it when he's 5, or I might finish it when he's 6, or I might finish it when he's 7, but it's not really going to make a difference when you look back on it, and I'm going to be happy, and everybody's going to be happy, and we're all going to Chris it up, right? Chris it up! Another thing, too, that I'll try to remember to sprinkle through here a little bit more than I do, because there are 1 or 2 people, believe it or not, who are here for the actual cross-stitch content and not just the buffoonery. But I never give any sort of like technical details about like the things that I'm doing or what I'm doing. This is 18 count Ada stitched 2 over 1. What? And this is what the back looks like for people who are interested in what the backs look like for some reason. See, this came up recently in a Flosstube I was watching. I think it might have been Morty. Like, I've never been one to care at all what the backs of my stitchings look like, because once they're framed, who cares? That's what I've always thought. But Morty did make a good point about why it can be good to keep your backs neat. I can see if it's not full coverage. Like, obviously, if you're going to pull threads around and it's not full coverage, even these little ones that are hanging down here, you can see them through. So if you're going to pull threads all over the place, when it's not full coverage like that, you're going to see them. I get that. But also, Morty made the point that her framer told her that it's easier to frame stitchings that have a nice neat back because there's less of a chance to mess it up when you're stretching it and stuff like that, pulling stitches out, or like all the mess and the tangles that get all over the place. It's easier and safer to frame it. I'll go with that as a legitimate reason to try to keep a neat back. I never thought of that before. I have no reason to mention that other than I just thought of it when I flipped my thing over. But like that's the first legit reason that I've ever heard of that made me think like, okay, well maybe. Maybe. So after I finished Chessie, I started to get really tired of doing all of the purple and blue. And I felt like I wanted something a little bit. Wow. Take 2. So after I finished Chessie, I started to get a little bit tired of all of the purple and blue, and I felt like I wanted something a little bit more.
Stitch Lady Melissa. Yeah, girl.
So I worked on Chessie for a good solid week, maybe a little bit more, and then I just didn't want to do purple and blue anymore. And I started digging through my drawer and looking at my old whips and getting really excited about why am I not working on these, and why am I not working on other things, and why am I not working on all the things? And suddenly I just wanted to work on everything that I could possibly think of. So first I picked up this. This is a stitch along that myself and Emma from Emma X Stitching started more than a year ago. Can you believe that this was more than a year that this has been going on? The Sunflower Cottage stitch along that we started and declared at the time that we're probably going to finish. Like we're going to be the last one still working on it. We said that at the time, and I stand by that now because neither one of us is going very fast. A lot of people are already finished. But I haven't worked on this in months and months and months. And I I looked at it and I remembered all the pretty colors that I loved working with and how pretty it was. And somebody actually, the kickoff for this one too was somebody on Instagram. I'm sorry, I should have looked this up first. I don't know who you are, but posted a picture of this finished. And it was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. And then I started looking at mine. I started getting all nostalgic, and I started looking, I want fun colors too, and I want pretty colors. So anyway, long story short, after I've already told a super long story, I wanted to work on Sunflower again. So if I can find the last time I even showed it, it's been so long. Let's see what it looked like last time. Hey! It's me, Sunflower. Remember me? This is what I looked like last time. And here's what the Sunflower Cottage looks like as of this moment. Look at that. I almost finished that whole page. I would say that's an almost finish. There's not too much left. And it was a blast. I loved it as much as I've always loved it. And I felt really sad and stupid that I haven't worked on this in months and months and months, probably since last summer. I don't think I've touched it since then. And all of a sudden I love it again. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Mwah! I think part of the reason why I wasn't working on this as furiously as like I wanted to, because every time I talk about it, I talk about how much I love it. Okay, if I love it, why am I not working on it? I think part of the reason is because I don't really have a goal or a purpose, I guess, for this. So it's like most of my other things, I have a reason for doing them. I want to keep them for myself. I've got a spot on the wall picked out for this one and for that one, or I'm doing one for Dylan, or I want to do one for my mom or Melissa or whoever. Like I've got a reason for doing them. I have no reason for doing this one other than it just looks like fun to do, and it is fun to do. That's it. I don't really like the actual picture itself. I don't really care that, like I love it. Yes, I do. It's pretty, but it's not my kind of thing that I would normally like put so many other things on hold just to do this. But I've always wanted to be working on it because it looked like so much fun to actually do with all these colors. So I've been searching for years for somebody to do it for, or so that I could give it to her, give me some excuse or some reason to do it. And then Emma came along, and that was my reason to do it. Started Stitch Along with Emma, and now I'm doing it. You know all this if you've been watching before. I always talk about the same things over and over. But As I was working on it, and as I was having so much fun and loving it so much, it did in the new Chris It Up era, it did. I thought to myself, what better reason could there be than I'm just plain old enjoying doing this so much? Okay, if I finish it and I throw it in the garbage, or I put it in a drawer, or I give it away, or whatever, like, who cares? In the moment, right now, stitching it in the evening, I am having the time of my life, and it's making me feel happy. So, do I need any more of a reason than that? I don't think so. Next up, after that, I started a whole completely brand new thing, and it happened totally by accident. I was in Michael's looking for 18 count oatmeal Ada, because that's what I want to stitch the Jacob 2022 Sal on. And Michael's never fucking has it in. It's never there. It's never there. I've seen it there twice in my entire life. I bought it both times. I should have just cleaned them out both times, because it's never there. They have a spot for it on the shelf, and it's always empty. It's really annoying. so it was, I'm just going to have to order it. I'm just going to, whatever. As long, if I order it, at least I know it's on the way. Anyway, that's completely unrelated, but that's why I was at Michael's. I was looking for oatmeal Ada. It wasn't there. So, but I did spot this thing hanging there that said 28 count Monaco even weave. What did I even just say? I think I just made a new thing up. I'm not even speaking English anymore. What is that? So I picked this thing up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm turning it over, and I'm examining it, and I'm holding it up close to my face like this, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Even with my old man eyes that are decomposing right now, I think that I can still see these holes well enough to stitch this over one. And if I do that, then I think that this reasonably sized piece of even weave, is actually big enough to hold even my biggest heaven and earth. So I'm gonna buy it just out of curiosity, and I'm gonna see what's what. I'm gonna bring it home, and I'm gonna see what's going on. And what was going on is it is in fact big enough to stitch the larger sized heaven and earth that I have in my stash that I have been meaning to get to and have never gotten to. It's big enough to do that on, but not so big that it's gonna like take up my entire wall. Now, I know this is the complete opposite of things that I've said before about how much the reason I like to stitch on 18 count is because I like having big things where the coverage is still good. I like that they're big. Well, I don't really like that anymore. I mean, not that I don't like it, but like I've hesitated to do a lot of things because I know that they're so big, and there's so much extra fabric hanging all over the place that annoys the shit out of me. And where am I gonna put it on the wall? Like, there's things that I like that I would like if they were normal size, but they don't have to take up my whole wall anyway. So, to the point, I already had this kitted up and ready to go. So I got my 28 count Monaco even weave. Am I even saying that right? I don't know. And I started stitching it. And look what it looks like. Look, that's 400 stitches. Doesn't it look like just 2 stitches? Look how cute those stitches are. Look at them. Can you see them? Can you see them? Can you see them? So that is 400 tiny little stitches right there. Like, look at that. I've got stubby little fingers. Look how small those are. You can't really see close up, and I don't know how to make my camera focus, but take my word for it. They're tiny and they're adorable, and I really, really like them. And of course, I started out stitching this because I'm so afraid of change. I thought, okay, I'll do it on a different size count than I'm used to, but I'm still gonna do 2 over 1 the way I always do. So that's what I started out doing, 2 over 1. And 2 threads with these tiny little holes and these tiny little stitches was a little bit bulky, especially if you got like 1 or 2 stitches in between stitches you've already done and you're trying to squeeze it in there. It was a little bit annoying. So I ripped all those out, and I thought, okay. All these people that like to stitch with 1 thread. Look at me with my fancy 1 thread. Aren't I cool? I'll try it. I'll try stitching with just 1 thread, thinking that I was going to hate it and that it wasn't going to be very good coverage and that it was going to snap and all these reasons why I wasn't going to like it. But okay, I'll try it. And lo and behold, I absolutely love it. It's easier. It's I feel like I've doubled my floss that I have because I'm using only one instead of two, so twice as much. And something else. Oh, and the coverage. I wish I could like get close enough in here so you could actually see this. It's not really. Maybe I'll take a picture of it, a nice clear picture, and I'll put it in here so you don't have to stare at this blurry thing in my humongous face. The coverage of this thing with just one thread is shockingly good. I was really, really surprised how good this was looking with stitching with just one thread. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I love it. I love it. And that has given me motivation and excitement now about some of the other heaven and earth patterns that I've had in my stash for years that I really, really like, but I never get to because I don't really want them to be the centerpiece of my house. like this, for example. I love this. I love this. But like, does it need to be like, do I love it enough that this is the first and maybe even only thing people are going to see when they walk into my house? I don't know, like maybe, but if it was just a small, reasonably sized thing, maybe I'd have more of a reason to do it. Same with these. I've got a couple more here. These, I love these. I absolutely, this and this. Hi, can you see me? I love these things. But same thing, like, do I need them to be so big that I'm going to have to section off 50% of one of my rooms just to like, so what do we all get to gather around this or this and just like it's really, it would be really overwhelmingly big stitched on my normal fabric that like, it would have to be like a thing that would have to be mentioned every time somebody came in. And like, is it that like, is that what I want to be like the whole talking point of my life when people walk in? It's not that I'm not saying I don't love it, but like, it doesn't have to be wall size. You know what I mean? you know? But if it's normal size, if it's just a normal size thing and it's not so overwhelming that people are just going to have to not ignore it or whatever, like I don't know. Why are you bothering me? I don't know. I think if I'm interpreting myself here, the point is I really like doing the big heaven and earths. I often do a lot of minis, not because I like am overwhelmed or don't want to spend so much time doing the big ones. I'll spend the rest of my life doing the big ones. I don't care. Like I don't really need that instant gratification thing. I'll work on the same thing for years. I don't care. But I often do a lot of minis because when they're finished, they're a little bit more like they're impressively big, but they're not humongously, outrageously big. But these regular sized heids, which still have all the, you don't get any detail lost, are about that size of a mini when you stitch them on a smaller count. So it's given me a lot more excitement and motivation to like, I'm not only going to be drowning in whips, I'm going to be drowning in heids. I'm going to be starting things that are never in my lifetime ever going to be finished, but I don't care. I'm going to start them anyway because I've discovered tiny stitches and I love it, and I'm going to start all the things and do all the things, and here's the first thing. Started, finished when I'm 50. So with all this whip fever, I was not necessarily wanting to go out and search for new things to buy, although I did want to do that, but I started with, do I have anything already in my stash that I want to be doing? Like I got those heids obviously, but like anything else that I have forgotten about that I have? And yes, I do. I found a couple of things that I completely forgot that I have that I also started to get excited about, and I'm also planning to start very, very soon. First, remember Nevermore? Remember last year when Nevermore by Lila's studio, it seemed like so many people were stitching and talking about that? Apparently, during that time, I bought that. And I forgot that I bought it, and it's just been sitting there in my folder of patterns for all this time, I guess, because there it was, and there it is, and I was like, oh my god, I have Nevermore. I'm going to do Nevermore. And it just so happens that I recently got a couple of nice looking fabrics and even some fancy threads sent to me from Hillary at Rustic Threads Stitching. Maybe I should have mentioned that as its own thank you separate thing. Where's my ukulele? Hang on a second. Hillary sent me presents. So I think potentially Nevermore might look good on either one of these, and it would fit good on either one of these. And some of these threads, which I think were just random things that she thought I might like, some of these are actually the called for threads from that pattern. So, you know, serendipity, I guess, is that the word I'm looking for? So I'm going to start that very, very soon. I also realized I've got a Jacob pattern that is just sitting there that I've never done or started. It's this one called Think Twice. So I figured, since I have these fabrics, and I think I have a couple of other fabrics, and I've got these fancy flosses now, and I've got some other fancy flosses that aren't just DMC, and like, I'm sure I could come up with some sort of combination and some excuse to use these, that like maybe I could use some of these for that one. Make it look pretty with some of these pretty flosses. Doesn't that sound like fun? So I think I'm gonna do that too. I just want to do everything. Whatever I have, and whatever fabric I have, and whatever flosses I have, whatever patterns I have, I am just like, I'm bursting, in case you couldn't tell, I'm bursting to just do them all. Now, brace yourselves for a month or two from now when I complain about how overwhelmed I am by all the things and all the whips, and I can't keep up and it's stressing me out. But right now, all I want is whips. That's all I want. I want options. I want different things. I want to start all the things. I'm not going to live forever. There's stuff that I want to be working on, whether I finish it or not. I don't want to look back and say like, why didn't I work on that? I want to work on it, and I want to work on it now, because what if I'm not here tomorrow? I better work on it today.
Well, what if there is no tomorrow? There wasn't one today.
So on top of all that, I've also been hard at work trying to fill out my shop with stuff so that I can give people things to actually legitimately browse. What? You can actually browse? Before you know it, there might even be a click here to see page 2. What? That's crazy talk. Page 2? What? I'll try not to take up too much time with this, because I feel like I've already been sitting here for a really long time, but we can't not hear the Kaylee rock and roll song, right? We have to at least. I think I can hear it fading in already. Remember when I ate my floss? That's rock and roll.
Mr. Stitcher, Stitchman, Darcy, what you stitching on? What you stitching on, my Stitchman? Mr. Stitchman is a designer. Stitchman is a stitching on his own things, yeah. Mr. Stitchman is a stitching on his own stitchings, yeah. Mr. Stitchman, tell me what you stitching on? What you stitching on, Mr. Stitchman? Your own stitching. Ow! Yeah! Tell me!
Okay, so the two things that I mentioned last time that I was going to create full coverage patterns out of, this thing and this thing, bing bing. I did that, and they're up and they're ready to go. This is like, keep in mind, for people that are not like me and do like instant gratification, these are not for you, because they're pretty big and they're full coverage, and they're going to take a long time to, like, they're not crazy big or anything like that. They're not overwhelming, but they're not small, you know, like in the 16 page full coverage range. So if you like having a whip that you can pick away at for years at a time, you might want to go take a look. If not, then I'm going to try my hand at some legitimate smalls. And I actually did one. I did one that actually is, I think, at least on the borderline of being small. Small. And that's this colorful character right here, who I have titled, It's a Cat. So as to answer the recurring question that I expected to get, what the hell is that thing? It's a cat. Hillary has actually started stitching this up for me. I'm not sure by the time that I'm finished this video if it's going to be finished or not, but I'll at least put in the picture of the most recent thing that she sent me of her working on it. Look, it's little. It's kind of full coveragey, because like that's just where my mind goes, but it's still quite small. It's like 50 by 60 or something like that. I don't know. It's not unreasonably big, and it's colorful, and it's fun to do, and it's a cat. Believe it or not, it's a cat. I know Jacob released a few new patterns recently that are up on his website right now. I took a look at them, and yeah, They're nice. I'm not going to say they're not nice. They're quite nice. But are they, it's a cat? The last thing I did is going to be a gift for my mother, who may or may not be watching this right now. So like tune out if you are, even though I know you won't tune out. So I guess it's just going to be ruined. But possibly for Mother's Day, even though I didn't realize that Mother's Day is really early in May this year. So I don't know if I'm actually going to get it finished for Mother's Day. So it might have to be a Christmas thing. But anyway, when I was a teenager, I watched the movie Psycho with my mom. And there's a line from Psycho, which I have said and used even in these floss tubes many times, that goes,
well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
And when Norman said that line in the movie, while I was watching it with my mom, she just howled. She howled with laughter. Like, that became her favorite movie line of all time. And to this day, she still says that to me all the time.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
So I created this pattern, which I intend to, hang on, I have to burp. This pattern, which I intend to stitch up for her. And she's gonna just like, she's just gonna roll on the floor when she sees that. No, I wanted something in it to at least reference Psycho, but that I didn't necessarily have to be like blood going down a shower drain or a butcher knife or you know, skeletons or anything like that, or like, you know, something recognizable from the movie, but doesn't necessarily have to be like the only reason you're ever going to stitch this is if you're a fan of Psycho. So the birds are from the movie too, but you don't necessarily have to put those Psycho connotations on it. You could just say that, look, it's birds, and birds are nice, right? It doesn't have to be because of Norman's hobby from the movie.
I don't really know anything about birds. My hobby is stuffing things. You know, taxidermy. And I guess I'd just rather stuff birds because I hate the look of beasts when they're stuffed.
So you don't, because this is, I put this up for sale too in case anybody likes it or wants to do it. Because you don't necessarily have to put the same connotations on it that I do. That I have this backstory with my mom, and it's from Psycho or whatever. You don't have to think about any of those things. I was trying to make it neutral enough that if you didn't know any of that stuff, you wouldn't be like, why is the bird's head off, or why is he bleeding down a drain? So I did have some of that stuff in there originally, and I took it out. Because you could, if you're one of the male stitchers out there, you could stitch this for your mom, and it's just a nice thing. Look, Mom, birds. I love my mom, and my mom loves birds. Isn't it nice? Or you could be a mom and do it for your son, and look how nice it is. A boy's best friend is his mother, and here's some birds. Isn't it pretty? You don't have to have the serial killer connotations attached to it. You can forget all of that stuff. It's still nice, right? Right. So I think that's it for that kind of stuff. There's still one more stitching related thing that I wanted to do and talk about today, which I am calling floss chaos. So let's do it. Floss chaos. One other thing that resulted from my trip to Michael's was how much I love standing in front of a wall full of DMC and being able to just see them all right in front of me without digging through anything and without opening up drawers. I can just see them all right there. And I want that. and I just wanted to know if anybody has any sort of floss system that is similar to that. I know I've talked about this before, and I got all these different opinions about like different ways to store your floss and bobbins and like drawers and this and that or whatever. Like, well, I'm past all that. I don't want any of that stuff. I want to keep them in skeins like this. I like this. I don't like bobbins. But I want to be able to stand in front of them and see them all. I know that might be a little bit too high maintenance and specific, but even if it was drawers, like I could open a drawer, like a dresser drawer or something like that, like open up a drawer and see a whole bunch of them all at once instead of one at a time. Because right now, hang on a second. There's actually no hanging on. I'm just going to edit it out and sit right back down. But anyway, right now for floss that I've got that's extra floss that I'm not using, I do have drawers, but I have to open up each drawer to see what's in there. And I've got like potentially 8 flosses per drawer. And if I've got multiple of that same floss, they all get jammed in there. Look at this. Open up this drawer and see what's in there. What? How am I gonna know what's in there? Look at how I have to like just dump them all out just to see what's in there anyway. And I can't actually see, like I just want to see them. Yeah, I know what numbers they are and they're all in order and everything, and it's as good as I can do, but I don't want to open a drawer and open a drawer and open a drawer. I don't want to open drawers. If I had some sort of a system where I just had one set of floss and I could see them all, I wouldn't have to have different piles for different projects. And like, that's starting to drive me nuts too. The fact that I have every single one of my projects kitted up separately from every other project. And it just results in just massive mass chaos and confusion and floss everywhere. And I always, no matter what system I try, I always revert back to these things, which are just, this is just ridiculous. This is ridiculous, but it's all I've ever known, and it's what I always go back to. This is for a sunflower right now, and you might remember that I had my sunflower flosses in floss-away bags, and I had my own system for using those floss-away bags, and I was so proud of it, and you were all telling me how I was using them wrong, and I was telling you, you're going to start doing it my way because I'm doing it so great, and then I picked this back up recently, and I was like, I hate these fucking floss-away bags. I hate them. Like, I threw them all in the garbage, and I just tossed everything back in these baskets that I always use, which is not really all that much better. This is chaos. This is like, okay, look, I got 1 to 900 in this one and 900 and above in this one. Organized, right? This isn't organized. This is a rat's nest. And I have these for every single project that I do, which results in buying the same floss over and over and over and over and over, which is really starting to drive me nuts. And sometimes if I run out of a floss for the one that I'm working on, well, I know I have that one in sunflower, so I'll just borrow it. I start borrowing from this one and borrowing from that one. And then when I get back to that, I can't remember what's missing, and I have to go through them and reorganize them all again because I've been picking from this and I've been picking from that and I've been picking from everywhere, and I've got floss all over the place and I've got flosses shoved up my nose and they're coming out my ears and I don't know what's going on. Anyway, if I just had some sort of a system where I could just see them individually in, like Michael's. I don't know if my Michael's is the same as your Michael's, but like each individual number has its own little pocket. And yeah, I know that's hundreds of pockets, but okay, so what? That's what I want. I want each one to have its own home, and I want to not open any drawers in order to see them. And I want to just be able to stand in front of them and look at them all. And if I do have to open drawers, I want to open a drawer and see 15, 20, or 30 of them, or however many I can at a time, instead of just one at a time, which is what I have now. I open a drawer and I see one at a time, or I see a pile of madness that I have to dump out anyway. It's not working, and it's driving me crazy. And if anybody has any sort of a system that is similar to what I'm talking about, I'd love to know what it is and how you got it. Floss chaos. Well, that went well, didn't it? I don't know. Did it? I think that was fairly to the point, on point, stitching related most of the way through, for once. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted. I worked myself into a frenzy with that floss chaos. I just spent 5 minutes taking deep breaths and trying to regroup because I just can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. Anyway, thank you as always for being here and for watching and for all the things that you do and for all the comments you leave and for the things that you've bought for me and the things that you've said to me and the advice that you've given me and the friendship that you've given me and all the things that I say oh my God, where's my ex? We got to tune out. He says the same thing every time. Can we just get out of this? Thank you. And I'll see you again next time.
Stitch Lady Melissa. Yeah, girl.